The Isle of Man TT is a race like no other. Riders compete over 37 miles of public road, racing at over 200 miles an hour, inches from stone walls, mountain drops, and even spectators. And the prize for taking these risks? Little more than a shiny trophy and the respect of their peers. From the physical and mental stress they deal with to the dedication and patience needed to get to the front. We're going to explore what makes these riders so special, and while many are quick to palm them off as lunatics with a death wish, we'll uncover the truth behind why they choose to take part in this incredible event. This is the extraordinary truth of TT racers. But first, for the uninitiated, the Isle of Man TT, also known as the Tourist Trophy, is a motorcycle racing event held every year on the Isle of Man. The inaugural race took place in 1907 and was originally created as a way for British manufacturers to develop and showcase the bikes they were building for everyday riders. Given the strict laws around racing on public roads in Britain and the stifling approach to development on the European racing scene at the time, the self-governed Isle of Man became the testing ground. But what started out as a competitive arena to road test motorcycles, as competition, bike development, and course conditions improved, the speeds only got higher and higher, as did the risks. As of the close of the 2025 event, 269 riders have lost their lives to the TT. And today, it's aptly known as the most dangerous race on Earth. So the first question then is, why? Why would you want to take those risks? But to better understand the answer to that question, you have to understand what these riders are putting themselves through and what it takes to truly compete. And it all starts with preparation. Because you don't just turn up at the TT and win. When you're riding a circuit 37.73 miles long with over 200 corners, all while averaging well over 130 miles an hour, every detail matters. This means memorizing every corner, bump, crest, camber change, braking marker, and endless more details that, if missed, could mean the worst. Peter Hickman famously prepared for his TT debut by driving 70 laps of the near 38-mile course in a hire car. That's 2,660 miles of driving just to learn the circuit. Not to mention the countless hours he would have spent watching onboard videos and going through mental rehearsal. And this process is critical because, remember, through buildings, trees, hedgerows, severe crests, much of the circuit is ridden blind, where riders only have a view of the next spot where they need to put the bike, with many of those spots hurtling towards them at 200 miles an hour. They need an intimate knowledge and feeling for where they are and what's coming next. And that means not only having the capacity to remember all those details, but to be able to access them in extreme situations. For most of us, we would find that impossible, but here's the thing. For TT racers, their memories actually improve under intense psychological pressure. In a study conducted by Dunlop Tyres in conjunction with University College London, which included TT legend John McGuinness, they looked at how extreme sports athletes perform in high-stress situations. They put the athletes through various challenges which got them to perform tasks under pressure, and found that the elite athletes' superior memory allowed them to stay in control even during tests which artificially invoked stress and anxiety within the brain. Following on to say that the athletes actually improved their memory accuracy by 20% more than non-athletes in response to challenging and intense emotions. This tells us that not only do they have the capacity to memorize every detail of the circuit, but their ability to access those memories gets better through the intensity of riding in that environment. But just remembering the course is one thing. They still need to have complete control and concentration to actually put the bike where they need to, so they can keep it rubber side down while traveling at these insane speeds. This means not only having supreme control of their machine and the physical attributes needed to do that, but also the mental capacity to process everything that's going on, all while remaining calm and fully in control. And once again, this study shows us that they are very capable of doing that. Whereas mortals might panic just watching onboard video, the Dunlop study revealed that not only do memories improve, but so does mental processing, where the athletes' brains were found to be 10% quicker in response to being challenged, meaning that they're better equipped to deal with tasks in high-stress situations. During the time pressure tasks that were set, John McGuinness specifically showed an impressive result by not committing any mistakes, and by performing tasks quicker when pressured than when not. And this can only be a good thing, because having this level of control and composure sounds imperative when you start to read the numbers behind what these guys are actually doing. In 2020, Bike Social released telemetry data from James Hillier's 2019 Kawasaki ZX-10R, and the numbers are just, well, you'll see. Kicking off with one of the most famous corners is Balagueri, with a recorded approach speed of 179.3 miles an hour into a blind corner, an apex speed of 131.8 miles an hour at 45 degrees of lean, and then out to corner exit where your only runoff is a stone wall. This corner, often referred to Balaschieri, is the site of Guy Martin's famous Honda Fireball crash in 2010. But this isn't even the fastest corner. Some other mentions being Gorsley, 166.3 mile an hour approach, 131.4 mile an hour apex speed at 49 degrees of lean, Quarry Bend's entry, 184.7 mile an hour approach, 136 mile an hour apex, and 49 degrees of lean. Or the Right Kink entry to Brandywell, with 188.3 mile an hour approach, 155.4 mile an hour apex speed at 44.1 degrees of lean. When you think that the majority of track day riders are struggling to hit 45 degrees of lean going much slower on a wide open track, it's just mind-boggling to think that these guys are doing that and more at these insane speeds. And these are just the corners. Riders will leave the surface several times around the lap, because what might be a small crest at road legal speeds turns into a jump Evel Knievel would be proud of at triple-digit ones. The scariest being Balacry, where the takeoff speed was logged at 149.3 mile an hour with the jump lasting just over a second. At these speeds, it's critical that you keep the wheels in line, because if you don't come down perfectly, things can get pretty hairy. And riders are doing this for more than an hour and 40 minutes straight. I'm not sure there's any mental challenge like it anywhere else on the planet. For instance, imagine asking a pianist to play a challenging concerto for nearly 2 hours without making any big mistakes. It might be hard, but a professional could probably do that. But now ask them to do it while traveling down a narrow, stone-walled street where any of those big mistakes would have them getting way too friendly with those walls. That would be a lot harder to do. It's the ultimate test of sustained concentration, skill, and control, where every pull of the brake lever, tip into the corner, and twist of the throttle can be the difference between winning or paying the ultimate price. And if that concentration dips, the risks of things going wrong skyrockets. And this is where conditioning comes in. While many TT riders won't be in peak physical condition like the MotoGP elite, to say they have it easy would be ridiculous. They're riding two-wheeled missiles, regularly performing hard braking, changing direction and entering corners at triple-digit speeds, and hanging on for dear life as they rocket out the other side. Anyone that's ridden a 1000cc sports bike at high speed will know it's not easy, and to do that for extended periods will take its toll. To cope, riders will often opt for training routines that keep them bike fit, consistently using their bodies in ways that just can't be replicated in the gym. And having this bike fitness is not only essential to competing, but staying safe too, something the authorities know and want to help with. In an attempt to understand just what riders are going through, from 2024, the Manx Road Racing Medical Services began strapping monitors to riders where they measure reaction time, heart rate, core temperature, blood lactate, and grip strength in real time during races. By better understanding what riders' bodies are going through, they hope to educate them so they can get into better condition for races, leading to fewer mistakes and accidents. For instance, we know that muscle strength and mental abilities will diminish with just 2% dehydration. At 3%, it decreases G-force tolerance by 50%, and with it, athletic performance. Fatigue will have a similar effect, reducing physical power, technical accuracy, and cognitive decision-making. The results of these tests are yet to be published, but I think there's going to be a few surprised faces from those who think that these guys are just sitting on a motorcycle and chilling out for 226 miles. Again, in an area where mistakes cost lives, you can be sure that the very best riders are doing what's needed to not only compete, but also keep themselves in the game too. And they need to, because if they have any hope of winning, it's going to take serious dedication. Where riders in MotoGP can turn up and win right away, TT riders will take several years and hundreds, if not thousands, of both physical and mental laps around the course just to get to the point of challenging, let alone winning. And this is the clearest indication that the TT isn't just a place for the unhinged. Speaking to 44 Teeth, ex-TT racer Mike Booth said on Riders Being Crazy, "I completely disagree. In fact, I'd go as far to say the opposite is true. You actually have to be fairly level-headed, sensible enough to respect the course, respect the enormity of the event, and be prepared to do your homework. TT racing isn't for crazy cats. When the foolhardy race there, they don't come back." It's not just about having the skill, but it's about having the patience and dedication to keep going, to keep taking those risks while respecting where they are as they work themselves closer and closer to the front. So, considering all of that, it brings us to the final question. Why do it? Why spend years of your life dedicated to this pursuit, taking untold risks for little more than a shiny trophy and the respect of those around you? What makes it worth it? For most outsiders, the simple explanation is, well, they're just adrenaline junkies, but it goes a lot deeper than that. In a study catchily titled, "Experiences Leading Elite Motorcycle Road Racers to Participate in the Isle of Man Tourist Trophy, an existential perspective," they conducted life history interviews with a number of elite road racers and found something fascinating. They found that conventional risk-taking personality theories completely fail to explain why TT riders race. Instead, participants viewed the extreme danger of the TT not as deterrents, but as opportunities to engage fully with life and confront their mortality. They don't fit the adrenaline junkie profile. Instead, riding the TT is an existential practice that gives their life meaning and authenticity, concluding that fear isn't absent, it's the whole point. For them, fear and the risk of death are worthy trade-offs to feel like they're truly living. And that, together with everything else it takes to get there, for me, it puts them in a class of one. I'll see you in the next one.